As the name suggests, the book of Genesis is a book of firsts. The first recorded words of the Creator God, for example, come as early as Genesis chapter 1 verse 3, where he commands light to come forth. This is very interesting since God had not yet created the light-giving sun and moon. In fact, the greater and lesser lights would not be created for another 3 days. Thus, according to the Bible, there was a light source before the sun. Skeptics frequently ridicule the Bible on this point, writes astronomer Danny Faulkner. They argue that ignorant and foolish people wrote it, since they didn't see a problem with the fact that the sun didn't exist for the first 3 days of creation. However, the creation account doesn't identify the source of the light for the first 3 days, so we don't know what the source was, but we can be sure that it was not the sun. Also, as scientist and theologian Jonathan Sarfati points out, this unusual counterintuitive order of creation, light before sun, actually adds a hallmark of authenticity. If the Bible had been the product of later editors, as many critics allege, then they would surely have modified this to fit with their own understanding. Significantly, it's in the last few centuries that astronomers have realized that a day-night cycle needs only light plus rotation. But if the light for the first 3 days was not the sun, then what was it? Many speculate that God himself was that light. This is drawn from passages such as 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 6, which parallels the light God created on day 1 to the light God shines in our hearts. Another verse used to support this view is Revelation chapter 21 verse 23, which tells us that the New Jerusalem will have no need of the sun or of the moon to shine in it, for the glory of God will illuminate it. Others speculate that the source of this light was God's Shekinah glory, while still others believe that this light was not God, but something he created. In modern scientific terms, writes Jonathan Sarfati, we would talk about electromagnetic radiation and photons. Henry Morris quite reasonably argues that while the narrow visible part of the electromagnetic spectrum is emphasized in contrast with the darkness, this probably included invisible parts such as infrared and ultraviolet as well. Critical, though, to this discussion is Psalm 72:17, though this verse is often overlooked because of its mistranslation into English. The King James Version of the Bible, for example, declares of the Messiah that his name shall endure forever. His name shall continue as long as the sun. But that's not exactly what the original Hebrew text says. Rather, it says that his name shall endure forever. His name was there before the sun. Thus, it seems clear that Jesus Christ is both figuratively and literally the light of the world, even before the sun.